doctors could figure out exactly what it was. And both Nicole and I worked in the biotech industry. She was in the venture capital side, I was on the communication side. And we thought we knew everybody in industry, and we knew that, you know, every disease ever could be cured by biotech. And when Nicole's friend had her 2 children, Nicole did what we all do. She started researching and looking for clinical trials or companies or something who could help her friend. And she found nothing. There was no information. There were no other people, no other families that she could find who were going through the same symptoms as her friend's children. And that was astonishing, you know, to those of us working with all the biotech companies. You know, you don't often come up with, oh, there's nothing. So because of that, Nicole actually quit her job in venture capital and started Global Genes because she discovered that there were many, many, many families and children in that same situation where there just wasn't any information. Where there was information, it was very scattered and disparate, and no one was connected, either with each other or with researchers, companies, physicians, and so on. So Global Genes started 5 years ago. We are a global organization. We have to be because of the nature of rare diseases. You may find that, you know, your nearest other family is in an entirely different continent, let alone country. And I have slides. Thank you. What our mission is to eliminate the challenges of rare diseases. We address all rare diseases because we found that the voice of the community could be much more powerful if we connected everyone across all of the smaller communities that are disease specific. So XLH, you have particular challenges that you deal with within your disease community, but there are also a lot of commonalities, and some of that was coming out today, you know, just with daily life challenges, reimbursement, how to find clinical trials, how to find the right specialists. These are all things that are common across all of the rare diseases and not just in yours. So we exist to help all of you. We develop tools, whether it's educational tools like the webinars. We also put those out in print and on the web so that you have the information so you can take the next step, whether that's the next step into a clinical trial or the next step just in what you need to get done today. Next slide. So we really focus on 3 different areas. The first one is the education. And then the second one is really making sure that everyone is connected. And we hear so many times from everyone that we work with that when we first got the diagnosis, we thought we were alone. We thought that this was something that no one else was going through. We didn't know anybody else who was in the situation, no other family, no other person who was going through what we were going through. And that moment of connection, when you find someone else who understands what you're going through and perhaps is 2 or 3 steps ahead of you and can help you along the way, that is a large part of our mission, is to make sure that those connections happen. We do get emails and phone calls every day from all across the world. Last week we got a call from a mom in Yemen whose 2 daughters had a genetic disease. She had no help, she had no idea, no information. We connected her with a specialist here in the US who happened to know someone in the Middle East who was also someone who knew a lot about that disease. So it's truly a global effort. And then the third bullet here about science and technology. So we don't fund research and we don't directly fund science. We do have a great medical advisory board, and what that helps us do is put groups like XLH, if there's an interesting piece of research that is pertinent to your community, we can help make that connection. If there's a piece of research that we find and that we know might be directly applicable in a certain area, we'll make that connection. So while we're not funding the research ourselves, we're making those hopefully making those connections that make things move a little faster. Speaking of which, next slide, please. Going back to that idea of the collective voice, if we can connect the entire global rare disease community, we're looking at an awful lot of people, and an awful lot of people can make an awful lot of noise, right? So 30 million Americans, that's 1 in 10 Americans, have a rare disease. That's a disease that impacts under 20,000 people in the US. In the UK, the number is a little bit lower. It's a disease that impacts 2,000 people, so the definition varies a little bit. But we're looking at 350 million people worldwide. It has a larger impact than cancer, has a larger impact than AIDS. So when we go back to that idea of, do you feel alone when you have a diagnosis or in your daily life when you're living with a rare disease? You're not alone. There's an awful lot of other people out there. Through us, you can find those other people, whether they are regional, local, or not. They may be a global connection. The unfortunate piece on this slide is that there are only 5% of the rare diseases with an approved treatment from the FDA. So again, that collective voice, that very rowdy beating down the doors to get something moving is really important, because 5% is just ridiculously low. I'm making the gentleman run back and forth a lot up there. So what is considered rare? These are just some statistics. But there's the bottom half of the slide, which a lot of you in the room know. 50% of the people impacted by a rare disease are children. That makes our mission even more urgent. Most of the children do not make it past 5 years old. So the idea that we all should band together and make that known, and also force people to do something about it is an important one. 7,000 and counting rare diseases. Having worked in biotech for the last 18 years, the emergence of genetic testing, genetic medicine, personalized medicine, all of those terms, I mean, back in the day, it was going to be 5 years and every disease known to mankind would be solved through genetic medicine. Unfortunately, that did not happen, but at least with the advance of genetics, we are able to get to diagnosis hopefully a little bit quicker. We do produce materials around genetic testing that came up this morning. We have a toolkit specifically about whether genetic testing is an option for you or not, how to access it, how to get reimbursed for it, and we are going to work to bring in that list of I think it's 2,000 genetic counselors onto our website so that you can more easily find genetic counselors as well. 80% of the diseases are caused by a faulty gene. So again, genetic testing becomes critical. One of the things that we've been looking at, and there'll be a report coming out on, is we talked about reimbursement a little bit this morning. How do I get the genetic testing reimbursed? And it's very expensive. We're actually looking at the economics of that and working with some partners, because the cost of not being diagnosed or being misdiagnosed can have a much larger cost overall on the healthcare system than if you are tested, get the correct diagnosis, and then get treatment if it's available. So the numbers don't really add up. If you're not being reimbursed for a genetic test, again, we need to have that collective voice to make that happen. Because the costs on the other side of that, where you're just wandering around the wilderness for 5 to 8 years trying to find a diagnosis, is much more expensive overall. And we know that industry and government and all of those bodies love data, so we try to get some of that data out in terms of reports. So, keep going. So specifically what we do and why we exist, we're here to educate both on the industry side, on the medical side, researchers, clinicians, your care teams, as well as educate you, the patients and families. Someone said it earlier today, you are your best advocate and you are your best child's advocate. When you're starting your disease journey, your rare disease journey, you may not even know what being an advocate means, right? It's like, what are these people talking about? And it's getting the information so that you can take control of the situation. So you're not kind of at the dictate of other people who are telling you what to do and how to do it. You can get the information, some of it through us, and we provide as much as we can, so that you can start to take control and make your own choices, whatever those may be. We collaborate, so there were other organizations mentioned today. Collaboration is really important to us as an organization. We believe in sharing as much as possible, distributing as freely as possible, all of the information, and we don't care where it comes from. We will work with anybody and everybody. We just did, for the first time this year, we did our UK summit. So we have a patient summit here in the US, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we also collaborated with the largest genetic disease group in the UK, just because they asked us, oh, would you be interested? And we're like, of course we'd be interested, we'd love to. So we raised the money to do it, and we went to London and had the first UK summit. We'll repeat it again this year. And we're talking right now about South America and various other places. Those are things that come into existence because we collaborate. We say, yes, we want to work with you, and we'll figure out how to do it. We might not have the money right now, we might not know anybody in the country right now, but as soon as we put it out there, we know that the rare disease community will emerge, and we know that through companies and partners like Ultragenics, we will be well funded to do our work. So last year, and this was year 4, we reached 6,500 people directly. So that's like at meetings like this, we're directly one-on-one, we're meeting you, speaking with you, and making that connection. So we also had 4,700 programs and tools. What that means is people going onto our website, finding a toolkit, downloading it, going to a webinar, attending the webinar, or coming to one of our events. The community outreach, so social media, I'm sure a lot of you use social media. Social for us is huge. It's a really easy way to connect people wherever they are. And we have 985,000 people connected through our social network. If you're not online with us, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Twitter, and you can find us on globalgenes.org. World Rare Disease Day is our kind of second biggest day of the year, our first biggest being our own annual event. And World Rare Disease Day, we were represented at 600 events in 15 countries. If you don't have a blue ribbon, they're at the back of the room, this little blue ribbon. We sent out, I'm not sure if I have the number, but we sent out tens of thousands of these across the world this year as the ribbon for rare diseases. So everybody knows the pink one for breast cancer and the red one for AIDS. This is the blue one for rare disease, so please grab as many as you want. I have lots with me. I think I've got 400 with me. Next slide. So I'll give you a look at some of the events and programs specifically. Our Patient Advocacy Summit is a great gathering of patients and families who come together, and it's really a celebration as well as an opportunity to connect with each other. It's a 2-day event. It started out as a half-day event. Now it's a 2-day event, and we're kind of bursting at the seams. The room is always standing room only. We bring as many patients and families to the event for free as we can. We do that through the support of partners like Ultragenics. And the summit is an opportunity to both have panels and presenters to talk about topics that are really critical. We decide what those topics are by talking to the patients and families throughout the year, and then prioritizing what the biggest issues are. So whether it's genetic testing, reimbursement, Whatever it is, we put the thought leaders together on the panel, but also make sure that it's very interactive. So instead of, like today, sitting there listening to me, we have plenty of people around the room passing mics, and the patients and families and advocates really are the largest part of the discussion. We also do cool things too, like, you have the barbecue on the beach, and kids get to do a surf experience with some local surfers, so there's all kinds of really great events. We have, and some of you I think have nominated people before, we have our annual awards during the event as well. So if you know a great patient advocate or a great doctor, someone who has been instrumental in helping you, you can nominate them for an award every year. 400 and counting attendees for the Patient Summit. Kim? Oh, thank you. So the Patient Summit and the Gala are both coming up September 24th through the 26th. It's in Huntington Beach. So if you like the sunshine outside today, you can come get some more of it in the middle of September. As I said, there are travel stipends. So if you think that you can't make it because you can't afford it, we can help with that too. The culmination of those 3 days on the next slide is our awards gala. It's the tribute to Champions of Hope. So we have awarded patient advocates, we have awarded researchers, we have awarded community members who have made a major contribution over the year to the rare disease cause. It's a wonderful celebration, it's a lot of fun, and very inspiring. And actually this event was how I ended up joining Global Genes, first on the board and now full-time. Having been to, thousands and thousands of chicken dinners in the biotech industry, I went to this event and it was truly inspiring and motivating. I think that, I know that in the rare disease community, it's often the parents who are the drivers of the research, the drivers of the funding, and always the most passionate people in the room. And it's truly amazing, and kudos to all of you for the advances that you've been able to make for all of the rare diseases. So don't lose heart. I know there were some people in the room who weren't feeling very hopeful, and we have our bracelets, emblazoned with hope, and our bags with messages from different patients and patient advocates. Don't lose hope. There are, as I said, 1 in 10 Americans who are going through what you're going through. So come to us and we'll help you find them. What else have we got here? So the toolkits. So this is really important. There are often issues that come up, and say you have a potential treatment, but you don't know if you can get it off-label, or you don't know if you can get reimbursed for it. So you start Googling and looking for this information. Part of what we do is pull together the best thinking around these issues and put them into toolkits that are downloadable and also available on the website. They're quite often accompanied by a webinar, and they are across a myriad of topics. So how to take part in a clinical trial, how to manage my child's day at school, nutrition, drug pricing, what does that mean? So everything that you can think of, or everything that you think is important, we try to develop the educational material around that. We don't know everything, and of course it's always a changing landscape, so we try to update them as time goes on. So something that we did 3 years ago on trials or reimbursement, we'll try to keep that up to date every year. We have several coming out this year that we're working on right now. One that's perhaps important, I think, for all patient advocates and families is understanding the drug development process, particularly in rare disease, so that you have that foundation and you're kind of working with that understanding of, if I'm working towards a treatment, this is the process that the FDA goes through, that the companies go through. This is where I come into it. Can I get myself into it earlier? Where is my voice as a patient advocate? Is it in the clinical research stage, or is it only once there's a treatment on the market? So That one is under development right now, but there are lots available on our site that are already done. I had so much coffee, you have to excuse my voice. I'm like, the webinars, these are promoted through our social media and on our homepage. I have asked Becky if we can send everyone who attended today out some information so you guys know how to find all of this. But the webinars, again, we'll pull together people who have gone through the experience of whatever the topic is. They may be scientists or they may be moms, depending on the topic, pertinent to some of the things that we have been talking about today, how to discuss genetic disease with your loved ones. That's one that I'm going to be doing soon. Identifying your rights as a young adult with a rare disease, again, relevant to all of you today. So the webinars are live, but then we also archive them, and we can provide transcripts as well. It's a great way, if you do have difficulty traveling to any of the events, it's a great way to get the information. And then the meetups, so much like today's meeting, Global Genes also works on meetups where we bring together the patients and families around specific rare diseases, so that, like you had the opportunity to this morning, you can get a really in-depth understanding of the disease itself. Why is it happening? How does it happen? How does it change over time? And then that will also help when trials become available or treatments become available. You can make that connection between the mechanism of the disease and the mechanism of the treatment and become as well informed as the people who are developing the treatment for you. This is from our Cystinosis Camp. So we took a group of teenagers who were facing that transition from being children with cystinosis to being young adults with cystinosis. They had not really had the opportunity before to just be teenagers and be with other teenagers who were going through what they were going through. So it was the first time for most of them to get away from mom and dad and also make friends with people who are their peers, both in their medical experience and in their age. Hugely successful. The kids had a wonderful time. We're doing it again in 2 months. So last year was kind of the pilot program. We're repeating the cystinosis one in 2 months, and then we're also doing, I think, 3 for the AHUS community. So that was a program that came directly out of meetings like this, where community came to us and said, is there anything you can do to just bring the kids together? So we did it. And again, we have support from some of the biotech companies to do that. But you can see they were a pretty happy bunch. What's nice about it too is it helps connect the next generation of patient advocates, right? So, you think moms and dads can be fierce around the disease? Take a bunch of teenagers, right? If you give them the information, they already know how to get it out with social media. So we can build that momentum and really build that second generation, third generation of that very powerful voice that I spoke about earlier. And that's all I got. So I am here for questions and hoping that you have lots, and I'll do my best to answer them. I did have some notes that I took from this morning of other things we do that I need to tell you about. Yeah, so while you think of questions, a couple of things that I wrote down this morning. The idea of educating medical students and educating the medical community. We just did a pilot program with 3 of the children's hospitals where we went in with a group of patient advocates and brought in medical students, but also the staff from the hospital, a few genetic counselors, and some residents. We had 140 people at Children's Hospital in Orange County, and most of them are the medical staff of the hospital who had never really had any exposure to rare disease and education around what the patients and families are going through. So we had 140 in Orange County. We had 30 at Rady Children's Hospital, and then 50 at King's Daughters Children's Hospital. So they were our 3 kind of pilots where we thought we'll try this out. And already more of the hospitals and these particular hospitals are asking us if we can make it bigger. So people want to hear from you. They want to work with you, and we can help facilitate how and when that happens. It's really encouraging every time we try, hey, let's try this out. We'll do a little pilot. Suddenly it's like, boom, can we make it 5 times bigger, right? So again, be heartened by that. Once you do start to speak up and interact with people, I think certainly in the medical community, they love information, they love data, and then they can actually take action to help you. If they're not talking to you and they don't have a connection and there's no relationship there, they can't help you. So questions, anybody? Yes?
Actually, more of a comment. So this year at the medical school, we had our very first Rare Disease Day event, and Global Genes was front and center. But it was actually kind of amazing. We had a cystinosis patient there, Williams syndrome, cystic fibrosis. We had a panel of patients, of parents, and all the medical students showed up from both classes. And it really was a day to talk about and to educate our students about the enormous number of rare diseases that are out there. And we had 2 PCPs that were there who had committed to rare diseases, which is really, really unusual. So it is a great mechanism to use that day, the Rare Disease Day, as an event to get more medical schools involved.
Absolutely. We had another event at the Keck Institute on Rare Disease Day as well. And this week they called to say, please, please, can our students come work with you all summer? And we're like, well, I don't know, maybe. So, now they're working with me to take the entire list of rare diseases and then break it down by parent advocates, specialists, children's hospitals, known cases, go as deep as we can with those great PhD students and get as much out of them for the summer and then get them to come back. But the same experience, like I said, every time we reach out and facilitate something, especially if it crosses you need everybody. You need the parents, the families, the kids, the researchers, the companies, the regulatory bodies. You need everybody to get this solved, to get cures, to get treatments. So the more that we can facilitate that, where you end up in the room, you might be sitting next to the top researcher in your area who you never knew existed before, right? So that's what we do.
And is it true that the blue is really blue jeans?
I did not wear my jeans today, and I felt bad because it's the first job I've ever had where it's mandatory to wear jeans. And I actually ran around yesterday before I flew down this morning looking for a pair of jeans because the ones I have, they're a bit too Southern California. They've got holes all over them, so I didn't want to let you guys down. But yes, the blue ribbon is blue jeans, and we've had some great events where partners have collected through their employees, they've collected all of the jeans, old jeans that people have, and kind of made giant blue jean ribbons, or made a donation if people brought in 500 pairs of jeans, then we'd get $5,000. So yeah, it's a fun brand. Any other questions? We here?
I know it started out with one specific disorder, but you've developed into encompassing multiple disorders of genetic nature. I have my own Facebook page. It's Disabilities Beautiful XLH, and my main focus was XLH, and then I came across your page, and it allowed me to be more diverse in promoting other disabilities as well. And I often share your links, your webinars, your promotional events. and your promotional items. I do have the blue jean ribbon on my car.
Thank you.
But all of those things that people can wear on themselves and help them feel beautiful about themselves. And I just think it's absolutely fabulous. I love the work that you do. I think it's great.
Well, thank you for that. One of the things we do at the Patient Summit, it started as Nicole is a hugely creative thinker and hugely passionate, and when she sees something, she's like, well, maybe we could do this, and once she and I get going, there's kind of no stopping the ideas. So there's a graffiti artist who does these huge angel wings around Los Angeles. So we kind of co-opted that, and we have a huge wall of blue angel wings. And one of the things we do at the Patient Summit is everyone takes their picture in front of it. But we also made a little app, so if you can't be at the summit, you can do it and post it on your Facebook page or wherever it is. So that all sounds very cute, right? But what it actually does is it's a very eye-catching way of building awareness, right? Like the blue ribbon, you know, you see these things, like the bags. If you go to the grocery store and you take that bag, we want people to be aware of rare diseases. And I know that can be difficult. Earlier, you know, you were saying if someone asks you a question, feel free to say it's none of your business. But in a way, that doesn't help us move forward, right? So if you can be educated to the point where if someone asks you a question, you can tell them, 1 in 10 Americans have a rare disease. You know, there are only 5% of the diseases have a treatment. Most people, in my experience, respond to that, and they respond to it positively, and they're kind of blown away by the statistics, right? So all of the fun things that we do and kind of the branded creative things that we do are with the intention of building that global awareness.
I noticed the little image that you have that people can insert their personal
Yes.
photos in. I see a lot of the XLH followers also use that as well. So that's just a fabulous tool to promote it on the internet too. I thought that was great.
Yeah, there's a little app where you can upload your picture, and it says, I care for someone who's rare, or I care about rare, and you can put it wherever you want. So again, freely sharing and collaboration and just getting as large a footprint as we can. Becky, I'm out of time, am I? Okay. I'm around for the rest of the day. I'm around all day tomorrow. The table at the back is yours. Take whatever you want and need. If I run out of stuff, I've got business cards, and you can find me on globalgenes.org. And most importantly, if there's a toolkit or a topic that you're having trouble finding, I know Becky's going to help put an email out to the community, but always pick up the phone, call us. We're happy to help. Thanks, everybody.